Before I show my clear of the Ancient Gods Part 2 on Ultra Nightmare, I thought first I'd show my first clear of the DLC overall. And, while watching this back, share some of my thoughts about the DLC. I'll just start with my final verdict. I didn't mind this DLC. I found the difficulty to be a bit of a step down from Tag 1, which I found to be disappointing. Something like the Cursed Prowler I thought was a good touch, but I think the hammer just made everything a little bit too easy. My main point of contention was the final boss. While I can see that they were trying to make it an epic duel against an ostensible equal, to round off not just the DLC but the whole game, I think the execution ended up lacking. At the heart of my complaint is that the core gameplay loop of Doom got set aside for this fight. In a normal encounter, the enemies spawn in and you have free reign to deal with them however you choose. Even in the boss fights, and I'm going to mention the Gladiator here because it seems the most apt comparison, you have a certain degree of agency in how you approach the fight. Shooting the Gladiator when its eyes flash gives you a moment to do extra damage and stuns it, sure, but you can still do chip damage outside of that point. Whereas with the Dark Lord's immense amount of healing, you aren't able to get that chip damage off in the same way. And even if they hadn't made it so that shooting the boss outside of those very carefully defined windows heals him, I don't think it would be worth it simply because if he hits you, he will heal back most if not all of the damage dealt. And of course, because the Sentinel Hammer was introduced in this DLC, they had to make it usable against the final boss. But I found this sort of force you into a script that didn't feel good to play through. Admittedly, on my first clear I did exceptionally badly, but a large part of that was caused by his aforementioned ability to heal. On my first clear, it took me about 11 minutes to get the 4th glory kill after the 3rd one, so I'm actually going to increase playback speed for that part of the fight. And that's because I spent so long running around trying to stay alive that I wasn't dealing any real damage to the boss. And when I finally did, a couple of hits later and it had fully healed it back. The thing is, once you've figured out the fight, it's not that difficult. On my Ultra Nightmare clear, I didn't die through the previous levels and I only died once against the Dark Lord. And, believe it or not, that death only happened due to something which must have been a bug. I'll go into more detail in a separate video, but here's what happened. I secured what should have been the last stun, but after using the Sentinel Hammer, the Dark Lord recovered immediately. This left me more than a little tilted, and once I lost my composure, that was it. All of which is really just to say, I preferred the base game, and Tag 1. But with that being said, let's go through my successful clear of Tag 2 on Ultra Nightmare. As a quick point of order, I forgot to start recording before the fight, so I only have the snapshot of the last 5 minutes. Essentially, I missed the part of the fight before my first stun window. I think I did pretty well in the first phase. I may have swapped weapons too early in my stun windows though. This phase is doable in 2, but I finished it on the 3rd. And of course, I didn't need the hammer for the last sliver of health. Obviously, I didn't realise that I'd accidentally swapped the minigun. Fortunately, the shield saved me from the second hit there. At first I thought my quick swap to the super shotgun may have cost me the window to use the hammer. Fortunately that wasn't the case, so I was able to unload a full triple lock-on burst to clear about 3/4 of this health bar. And since I was able to grab that Sentinel Hammer pickup, I could keep my attention on the boss rather than hunting the zombies for glory kills. Finishing a health bar in 2 stun windows like this is exactly where I want to be. I dealt with those dogs very cleanly. And that was another great stun window. It's unfortunate that I'd run out of rockets here, but with those dogs replenishing my hammer, I was able to finish the phase with a more classic quick swap. At this point, I was doing pretty well. We can count the number of times I'd been hit on one hand. There was a sword hit at the beginning of phase 2, 2 if we count the one I blocked. I got shot once in phase 2, and I got hit by the shield slam once. But as soon as I got clipped by that grenade, I decided to put on the second chance rune just to be safe. I really like dashing into the hammer because the little slide helps you control where you land. Since I'm keeping track, that was 4 stuns in a row where I didn't have the hammer available. I was agonizingly close to the end of this health bar. I was disappointed to let him heal there, but fortunately it didn't stop me finishing this health bar with my next stun. And I know I had the hammer back, but since he was overdue for a summon, I decided to hold on to it. And I was immediately vindicated. First he summoned the dogs, which actually refund the hammer if you use it against them, almost immediately followed by the nastier summon. After that glory kill, I pulled out the shield just in case there was an attack coming. Missing with the ballista immediately made me flash back to my last attempt. Fortunately, he didn't heal anything back, and I didn't get caught in the follow-up. And I immediately followed it up with a near-perfect stun. And I took advantage of the next 2 stuns pretty well, even without having the hammer available. I was a bit messy in dealing with those dogs though. I didn't want to leave anything to chance at this point, so I used the hammer. I was a bit worried about the distance, but I wasn't too far away after all, securing my clear of tag 2 on Ultra Nightmare.